A first word for myself. Before the doctor left me one evening, I asked him how much longer I was likely to live. He answered, "It's not easy to say. You may die before I can get back to you in the morning, or you may live to the end of the month." I was alive enough on the next morning to think of the needs of my soul, and, being a member of the Roman Catholic Church, to send for the priest. The history of my sins, related in confession, included blameworthy neglect of a duty which I owed to the laws of my country. In the priest's opinion, and I agreed with him, I was bound to make public acknowledgment of my fault, as an act of penance becoming to a Catholic Englishman. We concluded thereupon to try a division of labour. I related the circumstances, while his reverence took the pen and put the matter into shape. Here follows what came of it. When I was a young man of 25, I became a member of the London police force. After nearly 2 years' ordinary experience of the responsible and ill-paid duties of that vocation, I found myself employed on my first serious and terrible case of official inquiry, relating to nothing less than the crime of murder. The circumstances were these. I was then attached to a station in the northern district of London, which I beg permission not to mention more particularly. On a certain Monday in the week I took my turn of night duty. Up to 4 a.m. nothing occurred at the station house out of the ordinary way. It was then springtime, and between the gas and the fire the room became rather hot. I went to the door to get a breath of fresh air, much to the surprise of our inspector on duty, who was constitutionally a chilly man. There was a fine rain falling, and a nasty damp in the air sent me back to the fireside. I don't suppose I had sat down for more than a minute when the swinging door was violently pushed open. A frantic woman ran in with a scream and said, "Is this the station house?" Our inspector, otherwise an excellent officer, had, by some perversity of nature, a hot temper in his chilly constitution. "Why, bless the woman, can't you see it is?" he says. "What's the matter now?" "Murder's the matter," she burst out. "For God's sake, come back with me. It's at Mrs. Crosscaple's lodging-house, number 14 Lehigh Street. A young woman has murdered her husband in the night, with a knife, sir. She says she thinks she did it in her sleep." I confess I was startled by this, and the third man on duty, a sergeant, seemed to feel it too. She was a nice-looking young woman, even in her terrified condition, just out of bed with her clothes huddled on anyhow. I was partial in those days to a tall figure, and she was, as they say, my style. I put a chair for her, and the sergeant poked the fire. As for the inspector, nothing ever upset him. He questioned her as coolly as if it had been a case of petty larceny. "Have you seen the murdered man?" he asked.